Hope with all of us. This person I've heard before, and I was devastated. It was marvelous. And tonight, she just celebrated 14 years. She's from the marvelous state of Pennsylvania. Help me welcome a Quad State Unity warm welcome to Doc T.
Hi everybody, I'm Doc Talley. I'm an addict. They got this new stuff up here. If I want this microphone up, I just push a button. If I want it down, I just push a button. They don't know. I could run amok up here. Got a little power. Yeah, I try to listen for all the years that I did not have time to listen. And I watch too. I people watch and I listen to people. And the young man just read the steps, how it works, and then when he got to 12, somebody said 13, and he said, keep your dick in your pants and give the women a chance or something like that, you know. And I had just got through saying to Cheryl during dinner that there are 4 basic necessities of life: food, clothing, shelter, and somebody to blame. You know, now we gonna put the responsibility for me keeping my drawers up and my dress down on the men. You know what I mean? Like I ain't got no say-so in it. You know, like, you know, like the dude is gonna say to me Tarzan, you Jane, and push me over. That didn't ever happen to me. You know what I mean? A lot of times I was Tarzan. Right on. I feel good tonight. I would like to thank the committee for inviting me to speak. This is a first, and it's beautiful. It was a success when you got the idea and didn't let the negative committee put thumbs down on it, you know? Because there's always somebody to tell you can't do it, ain't it? You know, always somebody to tell you that. I was talking about being invited to talk at a fundraiser in Texas. And when the person called me and asked me to come, I said, well, you're not a fundraiser. You don't fly somebody to Texas to talk at a fundraiser. But see, in Texas, you know, that's a big state. And they think big, and they don't know you can't do that. So that's why they did it. Because they don't know you can't do it. The negative committee ain't got down there yet to tell them they can't do it. You know? Yeah, all my life I had somebody to tell me I couldn't do it. And the main person that was talking directly to me telling me I couldn't do it was me. Now I had people to signify and to act like I couldn't do it. I had people to treat me indirectly like I was a loser. But I talked to me like I was a loser, you know, all my life. For some reason, and I have no idea what the reason is, I had a basic, fundamental worthlessness. I just did. It was just there. And I cannot put it together to tell you why it was there. And I am not going to tell you that I was from a dysfunctioning family either. I think that's kind of It's a play on words in a lot of ways, because who ain't from a dysfunctional family? You know, it just goes with the territory, really. And it is not because I had somebody continuously telling me that I was no good, but I was an individual that needed a God right now. The moment I popped out of my mama's womb, I needed God. Now, there are some people who, on the journey of life and living and developing, become aware that as much as they have, it is not enough. For an example, there are people that pursue the American dream, six-figure income, and they acquire that. They are not addicted, and yet there is something missing. They got everything. They have arrived at where they were supposed to be going. They met all the goals. They're not addicted, but there's something missing. Okay? That's true of all of us. The difference between me and an individual like that is I needed a God when I started breathing. At some point in life, other people become aware that there's something missing and they need to do something, and they start to search. I believe that God does not make mistakes when he makes human beings, and that all of us are born with a hole in our soul. I call it the God box. And very early on, I tried to put sex and dudes and money in my God box, and it would suffice for a time, and then it wouldn't be enough. I tried to put drugs in there. Many people tried to put learning and degrees in their God box. They tried to reach a certain level socially to make them acceptable. The problem is it don't fit, because nothing fits in the God box but God. Nothing. I am so glad that I know today that if I was not a drug addict, I know what would happen to me. I would be, if I were alive, on the back wards of a mental institution. See, I ain't got no, when I tell you that I like telling people about the best thing that ever happened to me, I do. Because if anybody would have asked me 14 years ago, do you want to be clean 14 years, I'd have said, hell no. That would have been the most scary thing that could happen to me. Why would any drug addict want to be clean 14 years, maybe 14 minutes, you know, but See, it did not compute, because why would I want to do that? What kind of scary stuff would that entail? But I'm glad I'm an addict, because for whatever reason, see, I would not have fit in society the way that I think. And for some reason, I don't know why we think here at Narcotics Anonymous that we got the market cornered on nothing, including pain. You know, we want to act like ain't nobody ever hurt like me. You know, ain't no, you know, and this is the way for me. Now, let me say this, and I want you to hear me. Narcotics Anonymous is for me. I'm a good setup for Narcotics Anonymous, and I believe that God directed me to this program, Talley. And I'm going to be here until he directs me someplace else, and that ain't happened. But he does not do that for everybody. Let me tell you something about recovery. Recovery did not start in 1935 with the first 12-step program. It did not start in 1953 with this program. Since man first crushed the grape and crawled out of a cave and said, I wonder what would happen if I chew this. I wonder what would happen if I roll this up and smoke it. I wonder what would happen if I make a tea or a soup out of this and drink it. And he started to get in trouble at that moment and called on God for help, there has been recovery. Okay. Understand what I'm telling you? Without any known program as we know it today. That's all I'm saying. I am so grateful for this program that it is here for me. But let us not get carried away and act like this is the only way for everybody, because it ain't. Because there are people that was going to commit suicide at 3 o'clock in the morning. And just before, for some reason, they reach over and flip that TV on, and here's some dude, some minister saying, if you got a drug problem, put your hand on this TV. You know what I mean? And they get it. Man, I was mad at God when I found that out. I said, how come you didn't zap me like that? See? But he didn't. He didn't. He sent me here because this is where he wanted me to be, and why, I have no idea. You know, I'm just following direction. I'm showing up and I'm following direction, and it's all right. Because I have learned to a degree to obey. To a degree. You know? I cannot say that I'm always on the money, because I revert real easy. I really do. And that's why I was almost under the table when y'all was throwing them napkins. Because, see, if somebody hit me with one of them napkins, I'm going to forget all of that. All of it. I ain't going to have no understanding. And what's going to make me mad is I will not know who the culprit is. See? And I'm going to want to wipe the whole room out. Because that's the way I get. You know, that's the way I get. So, you know, sometimes I'm okay and sometimes I ain't. But let me tell you something about that. I am so glad that I really can share all that kind of stuff. Because some people feel like when you get X amount of time, you have arrived somewhere. I hope I never arrive anywhere. See, because it ain't about the destination. It ain't about the destination. It's about the journey. It's about being on the path to somewhere. It ain't about me arriving nowhere, because if I arrive someplace, I'm going to be alone again. And I don't want to be alone. That song that Barbara Streisand sings about people who need people really are the luckiest people in the world. And I can revert, like I told you a minute ago, real quick. I remember a few years ago, when I was on vacation, I didn't go to a place, I stayed home, and I was going to thoroughly clean my house. And all my babies knew that I was on vacation, and so they were calling me up, and I wasn't getting no work done. So I took the phone off the hook to work. Took it off for a day. And I kept it off the next day because I had a lot of stuff to do. And I kept it off the next day, and I was finished working by the third day, but guess what? I liked the silence. So I left it off another day. And what starts to happen is I start thinking my own thoughts. I start being my own person. I stop reaching out to you guys and letting you reach out to me, and I'm in isolation. See what I mean? Where legitimately I did not go to a meeting those 4 days because I was busy doing other things. And I have been in recovery long enough to know the recovery is not just at the meeting. See, when I'm told that I'm supposed to practice these principles in all my affairs, that means cleaning my house too. I'm doing the program. Okay, the program just ain't at the meeting. You know, the program is me practicing the principles. When I go fishing, take the best attitude I got. When I'm with my dude, you sure enough get the best attitude. You understand what I mean? Whatever it is, that's practicing these principles. I'm showing up with the best Talley I got. See, for whatever the situation is. But what happened was I stayed away from the meeting, and I wasn't talking on the phone to anybody. And I reverted back to how it was. I stopped needing you guys. And somebody stopped by. Thank God. They did, because I was just in there doing my own thing every day, you know, and not needing anybody. And so it's easy for me to get into that. And I'm glad that I'm aware of that. Because see, that didn't just start. I've been an isolator all my life. As a kid, I would always, it would be one way or the other. Either I was down front. I was the kind of kid that, they used to have amateur hour when I was a kid. And y'all, a lot of y'all don't know nothing about that. See, but I came up in the 30s, and they used to have the movies for a nickel and a dime. And then before the movies, they'd have all these coming attractions, and they'd have a amateur hour, And then people would boo me every week and throw all kinds of stuff at me. Some weeks I'd sing, and some other weeks I'd dance. I just wanted to be on stage doing something. I would go from doing that to being in my upstairs hall, looking out the window daydreaming. Nothing ever was normal for me. I was either out here, just being nuts, or I was in isolation. I remember when I was 10 years old, they sent for my mother to come and talk to the school psychiatrist. And I took my mother a note, and she was washing clothes. I remember that she on a washboard. And she stopped and wiped the sweat off and read the note, and it said to come and talk to the school psychiatrist and something, Well, what happened is I used to, at certain times a day, just get up on the desk, stand up on the desk and go like an Indian. Just, be nuts. And so they didn't know why, and I didn't know why either. And so my mother read the note, crumpled the note up, and said, Doc, I ain't going to school, and don't worry about it. Black people do not go crazy, and we're too poor anyway. So I felt all right. I said, okay, they are saying there's something wrong with me, but now that I have found out that I can't be crazy, it's okay. And do you know, I was in recovery a few years before I became aware that every time I was in them nut houses, I was in the right place. It never occurred to me. All the years I was going in nut houses, it didn't occur to me that I needed to be there at that time, but I really did. I took a chemical at 13, and the chemical was alcohol, and something came together. I felt pretty good. And I started to smoke marijuana at that time. And in 1941, girls did not smoke marijuana. Not even in the ghetto, they didn't, And I'll never forget it. This girl and her old man came from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh. And they were a lot older than me, and they were something called, I had never heard the expression con man or con woman or fake, and I thought, well, I was real fascinated by that terminology. I didn't know what it was, and that's what they were. And I used to go after school to their house all the time and listen to them talk, and they turned me on to the weed. Now, I didn't like weed, but it didn't matter that I didn't like it, see, because I was accepted by them, and they were the in crowd, okay? They were a little bit different than the people even in my neighborhood. I was raised in a red light district, and there was a lot of cat houses, after-hour joints, gambling joints in my neighborhood, all the fast people. And I liked that, because the people that were like my mother, that worked and had children, and they just worked too hard, and they was too tired for me. They was just too tired. And I just did not intend to get that tired. And so I figured the way not to get tired is don't get married, don't have no babies, and so you won't get tired. So by the ripe old age of 15, I was married, I had a baby, and I was tired. See? Me and my husband used to get loaded all the time. We never had money for food, but we always had money for marijuana. I remember when my daughter was born, in those days, they used to, if you were healthy, and I was healthy, you could sell milk, breast milk, to the hospitals. and they would give you 56 cents for each 8 ounces of milk that you sold to them. Honey, I was trying to sell milk for days. You know what I mean? Because that meant I could buy me some cigarettes, buy me some weed, and buy me some beer. And I needed it. After wrestling and hassling with this baby, there wasn't no baby doll, she was a shown-up baby, I needed something to chill me out, okay? Life took a hell of a turn for me at that time. I started to use cocaine and heroin later on. Let me say something about that. We pretend like we ain't got no status, drugs, and all that stuff in this program. Don't believe that shit. Don't believe it. It ain't true. I hear people say, they get up here and they share, and they say things like, and I lost this, and I lost that, and that bad thing happened to me, and this other bad thing, and I was ostracized from my family. They tell you all that horrendous stuff. And then they say, and I didn't get on that needle. What else do they need to do besides what they did? You understand what I'm telling you? If what you did got you here, what difference does it make? What chemical you use, you know, we pretend like, but see, we don't. I had got a little buddy in Pittsburgh that he's been, let me see, he's been in recovery about 10 years, and I'm the only one that initially that he listened to talk, because see, if you hadn't shot heroin and been to the penitentiary, you didn't hurt like him. Now, we laugh about that today, you know, but we have all these status stuff, you know what I mean? And I didn't get as bad as him, and I didn't get as bad as her. You know, let me tell you the difference between an alcoholic and a drug addict. Alcoholic will stagger right across right out in front of here. And I'll say, what's the matter, man? And he will try to straighten up a little bit, you know, and get it together and tell me, oh, I just had a couple beers. And try to pretend like he ain't drunk. A drug addict come and get ready to lay prostrate right across this thing on the floor. And I say, what's the matter, man? And as he's going down, he say, nothing. You understand? Yeah. You know, but I'm glad, and Vito spelled it out, it is about addiction and what got us here. Because this one didn't get as bad as that one, and that one is better than this one. And I suggest to you that if you ain't visiting or here with your spouse or a family member and you're in this room and you're wondering, don't wonder no more. You know, welcome home. Here's what I can tell you. Welcome home. I started to go to the penitentiary when I was in my early 20s, and I went to the penitentiary a total of 6 times during a 20-year period, because I didn't learn nothing the first time I went. I just didn't learn. I was not a fast learner. And I felt real dumb all the time, going in and going out. I felt real dumb because I hated it. I hated being in a position for people being able to tell me what to do. I hated it. And sometimes, even right now, when I work for a drug and alcohol program, and sometimes when we're in the room with these long tables and we're having a staff meeting and somebody talks in a certain tone, what happens is I start to revert right there. And they become the people on the parole board. Now, these are my co-workers, you know, but people can talk to me in a certain authoritative tone, and I just go off. I just go off. Because, you see, I'm a child of God today. And I ain't going to do to me what I used to do, and I ain't going to let nobody else do to me what I did to me. You know, we talk a lot about self-respect. Let me tell you what self-respect is. You hear somebody get up at this podium and talk about self-respect, and they talk about my spouse trusts me, my children trust me, my boss can trust me. That ain't self-respect. That's respect of other folks. Self-respect is me not talking to me like I don't want you to talk to me. If I don't want you to call me no dirty name, I ain't got no business calling me no dirty name. If I don't want you putting me down and treat me like I'm a worm, I should not treat me like I'm a worm. See what I mean? Because if I have been restored to sanity, then I know that my acting out and all my actions were because I was the victim of a disease. Now you can't have it both ways. Either it's a disease or it ain't. Okay? If it's the disease of addiction, it makes you act out in certain ways. I have long since forgiven myself for that. That I could not help. Then I was the victim. If I pick up today, I'm a volunteer. I ain't a victim. When I left the treatment center, the people told me, Doc, you may die, but I'm going to see to it that you don't die ignorant. And I ain't ignorant no more. Okay? And what starts to happen is my thinking starts to change. And I, thank God, have learned to tell me the truth. Now listen to what I'm saying. I am not talking and telling you I'm a totally truthful person. But I have learned to ask me questions. I am so grateful because that's a gift of God. I ask me questions when I'm feeling jive and shitty. Dot, what is your problem? Not what did they do to you, but what is your problem? See? And I lie so good and so quick that sometimes I put it on what you did. But I have learned to take pen in hand. And God has blessed me. I will write the truth about what my problem is when I can't tell the truth. See? And I do not censor what I write. I write and write and write until I get it all down on a piece of paper. Because if I stop and read what I write, it ain't going to look good. And I ain't going to come up smelling like a rose like I want to. So what I do is I don't read it. I just write and write it all out. And sometimes, there is some cold-blooded 10 steps. They be so cold. I wear bifocals. Sometimes I put the glasses on to read. I had to snatch the glasses off. Cold-blooded. What's on the paper is cold-blooded, but it's true. And God gave me the gift and the ability to be able to tell the truth to me about me, and it's about me doing it. And that way, I got some way to overcome, to change, to get better, okay? Because that's what this is about. See, this is like a smorgasbord. You can come here and take whatever you want. And the people that tell you that if you don't get NA, it'll get you, don't believe them. This program will never attack you. It will not. It won't get you. You got to get it. Okay? You got to get it. See, there are people that's going to come here and warm these chairs for 50 years. And when they were using, they were a drug-using SOB, and now they ain't, and they're going to be a non-drug user SOB. See? And they ain't going to change because you do not have to. That's why when somebody says, and she works a good program, I don't buy into that, because how do they know? Think about it. I mean, they could say, I'm clean, but it's easy to come here and love you guys. I don't sleep with you. I'm going home tomorrow. I don't sleep with them people in my home group. You know what I'm saying? What does that mean? She works a good program. How is it with me and them people that I claim to love on a personal basis, that live in my house with me and that interact with me and that sleep with the dude I sleep with, the children, the grandchildren, my mama, you understand what I mean? How do I interact with them? easy for me to come out here and put on my NA face. See, you can teach a parakeet sitting right up here. He can do what I'm doing. That's right. You can teach a bird to carry the message. Anybody can learn these words. You know? That's right. But do my insides check out with my outsides? See, that's what my problem was. My insides and my outsides never matched. And so I come and I look at the people, and there is a line in the Bible. I started to read the Bible in 1982, not because I'm a religious person, I'm not. There's nothing wrong with religious people, I'm not saying that, but I'm just not. Great book. Somewhere in there it said, you shall know them by their fruit. And I think like, where the fruit grows? The fruit grows on the tree. So I need to ask myself, when I'm looking for somebody to follow and do like they do, check the fruit on the tree. And I need to ask myself, is the fruit that she got or he got growing on his tree the fruit that I want growing on mine? And I don't know. So what I need to do is become a fruit inspector. See, that's what I need to do. Inspect the fruit. Check it out. See, I mean, do I want to have what you have? And you cannot leave your recovery to anybody else. Now, understand what I'm telling you. I am not saying do not listen to. It's not what I'm saying. Or be open and obedient to what the program is. But let me tell you about that. When people attempt to know everything about how I need to run my life, then I need to check the fruit on their tree. See? Because when you see somebody that is in the newspaper and they are smiling because they have been together 50 years and they're celebrating 50 years of marriage, believe it, at some point along the way, consciously or unconsciously, then people ask themselves a question. Do I want to be here or do I want to be gone? And they answered the question whether they know it or not. They made a commitment that, hey, it may not be pleasant here with you all the time, but I would rather be here with you than over there without you. You understand what I'm saying? And them people that are married for 50 years, guess what they doing? Learning how to be married. That's what they doing. I didn't say they know how. I said they are learning how to be married. Especially all these folks in this program, because if you ain't done it clean, you ain't done it. See? And this is what, so I want to know if somebody's going to run my life and tell me what to do, when to do it, how to do it. That is not the program of Narcotics Anonymous. It is not. We don't know nothing about that stuff. We don't. And we need to quit lying and start loving these new people that come in here, not laying our sick idiosyncrasies on them. You know what I mean? They got enough of their own. They don't need ours. You know, especially all our sex problems, because if you're an American, sweetie, you got one. Yeah, you know, all Americans got sex problems. You cannot be born and raised in this country and do not have a sex problem. So that, I mean, that's the foregone conclusion. And let them people get their own stuff. They don't need none of my stuff. You know, I tell people quick, I don't know nothing about that. If you ought to be with him, if you ought not to be with him, I know this here, wherever you be, with him or without him, whatever y'all end up doing, I'll see you at the meeting. Don't use. You know what I know that. Yeah. And I am not given, listen, I got my own life to live. I am not going to run around try to ride roughshod over nobody else's body. Now, you better believe it. I ain't doing it. And I see, because everybody needs somebody to blame. And when these women call me up and ask me all them dumb questions that they have already, I've watched them in the room, see what I mean? Here's a dude over here to dance, here, you know, and he looks at the chick over here, and all their neuroses come together. You know what I mean? Yeah. See what I mean? The sicker the dude, the sicker the woman that they gonna, you know, they gonna get together here. See? Then what they do, they gonna get together, and they're gonna get a cup of coffee and go over in the corner and talk about God. See? That's what they do. You just start talking about God. See? And she has already made up her mind and made her own decision about what she's going to do about this man. Then she's going to call me up the next day after she did whatever she was going to do and say, well, what do you think about Jimmy? And my answer is, I don't. He's too young. I don't think about him. You know what I mean? And I don't. See what I'm saying? Because I am not going to be anybody's mother. I'm not. I had a daughter. If she was living, she would be 45. She died indirectly as a result of her addiction. And one of the things that I am mostly grateful for is that I finally learned to love her and accept her just as she was a year before she died. Okay? I am so grateful for that. I am so grateful because I had always qualified the love, especially after she started using. I did not want her to use. I tried to run her life. And a year before she died, I was able to give her an unqualified love like God gives me. Because if God had said to me, Dot, stop using so I can love you, he wouldn't have loved me. Okay? Because when I was a little girl, I did not say I want to grow up to be a negligent mother, a drug addict, and an ex-convict. I did not say that, but that is what happened. And God loved me, and God loves me today. He has always loved me. But I had to go there to get here. I had a lot of years of addiction, and I share my story because it's good for me to do that, but I do not wallow in that. I used to take 11-foot cotton sack and put it on my shoulder every morning with every failure, everything I did that was wrong. I didn't show up over here and I should have. I ain't tall enough. If I had more money, if I was smarter, if I was whatever. I did it year after year after year. And then my addiction caused me to do some things that I was very ashamed of. You know, we start maybe up here on the ladder, whatever our own particular morality is. And then we do something and we go down one rung on the ladder and we justify that. And what we say is, you know, well, if I ever get that bad, like somebody way down here, then I'll do something about it. But we're up here on the ladder right now, so it's all right. And we justify that and rationalize it. And then something happens and we come down one more rung, and so forth and so on. And I kept coming down and kept coming down and kept coming down. And let me tell you something, I do not believe, I do not care, and this is my opinion. See, because when your time comes, you can get up here and say what you want to say. But let me tell you, it is my opinion, there's no such thing as a high bottom. I don't believe it. I don't believe that nobody could come to narcotics. Now, you went as far as you could go. Now, maybe as far as you went ain't as far as I went. Okay? But you went as far as you could go. For an example, you see there's some folks in this room that have slept in abandoned buildings. There's some people in this room that had jobs and never lost their jobs. It don't make no difference. You went as far as you could go. Because if you could have been out there and stayed out there, you'd be out there. You'd be out there. Because you did everything you could to stay as long as you could. People's pain threshold is different. For some reason, I was a long sufferer. And that is not, that's just the way it was. But thank God, there ain't nothing in here on the Richter scale from 1 to 10, how much did you suffer? You know what I mean? And have that be a prerequisite for getting in here. All you got to do is have a desire not to use, and I'm grateful for that. Because, see, I got tired. I remember going 15 more years after I got tired. I did. I continued to use until God, in his infinite mercy, reached down to the hell that I was living in and delivered me. You know, the greatest step that we got for me, and all of them are great, and all of them go in a sequence, and that's the way they ought to go. But man, that first step I love dearly, 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 because every problem I ever had then and every problem I got today can be solved in that first step. Because I forget that my life is unmanageable for me, and I start to manage my own life, and I can't do it. Because the real truth is, underneath all of the stuff that we say, we are frail human beings, and we don't want to be powerless. We don't. We want to be our own God. See? And the greatest information, I got superior information. I do. Because I know that out of being a human being and being a drug addict, I absolutely don't want to be powerless. Therefore, I know I must. I must. And when I see myself inching into running my own life, thank God I'm able to see what I'm doing and stop it. Because I'm a human being, that's what I want. We don't want there to be no power greater than us. You know? I was sitting in church a couple weeks ago, and Will was in Pittsburgh visiting me. And the choir was singing this song, I love the Lord, I really love the Lord. You don't know what he's done for me. He gave me the victory. I love him, I really love the Lord. And these tears start coming down my face because it was true. I was loving something that I cannot see. And I am the same individual that could not love the people in my home, my daughter, my grandchildren, my mother. I could not love them because of drugs. That I had a hole in my soul. I could not, I wanted to, but I couldn't. And I saw them. And I lived with them. And I could not love them because I'm an addict. And here I was, sitting in church, listening to somebody sing a song about loving something or somebody that I can't see. That's a miracle. And the miracle is that it's true. I really do love God. And you see, I cannot bring that about. I cannot cause that to happen. It has to come from a power greater than me. They need to white knuckle it or black knuckle it or whatever they got to do to hang in there. See, but anybody that's been around here several years ain't got no business hanging in there. It's about living. Okay? This is a program. This is a program that is designed for good living. Absolutely. Now, whether we take advantage of that or not is up to each individual, and you may as well know it. There are some people that refuse to be happy. That's right. That's right. And that is just them. They are not going to be. Because being happy don't make them happy. You know? And what the problem is there ain't no problem. See? That's the problem. And there's a lot of people that's like that. You know, and that's the way it is. But you see, my father owns all the money in the world. He owns all the everything that I will ever need. Everything. and I talk to them on a daily basis. And let me tell you something about prayer. There's a whole lot of people that don't mind praying. The only problem is they got it backwards. They want to get faith and then pray. And that's backwards. You pray now and faith comes. That's what you do. You see, I do not like the terminology, fake it till you make it, because if you keep faking it, you may not make it. I don't like that. I believe in acting as if. If I say a prayer tonight and ask God to find me an apartment, the next time I go to the supermarket, I'm going to get me an empty box and take it home and clean out my junk drawer. You understand? That's acting as if. That's doing my part of the prayer, which is doing the footwork. That's what I need to do. See, because if I need a job, God is not going to read the want ad, and he ain't going to the employment office either. He ain't going. I've got to do that. I've got to do what I need to do for me, and I need energy to do that. And my energy comes from that 11th step. See? Improving my conscious contact with him, praying for knowledge of his will for me and the power to carry it out. And I ask for his will for me, because God always answers prayer, and I don't always like it. He says, yeah, no, wait, and you got to be kidding. You know? And when I asked for the man with the money, he said, Touch, you got to be kidding. With that money. And I still walk wild with the money. You know, I really do, because, you know, I like all this traveling and living good, and I'm still working and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I think I could adjust. You know? I really do. I could adjust to that. But see, the thing is, it's okay right here, right now. I am not waiting for this to happen to be happy, or that to happen, for the right man to come. You understand? A man can enhance my happiness. A man cannot make me happy, except in the bed. Okay? And everybody that's waiting for somebody, another human being outside themselves to make them happy, that they're on an ego trip. They really are. Because let me tell you something. And you can't tell me you got no God when you allow that kind of stuff to happen. Because you ever see a puppeteer, and he pulls the string, and he pulls this string for the marionette, and she grins. And then he pulls the frown string, and she frowns. And that's how some of us are, male and female, in this program. We need to understand, and only sponsoring somebody can help them understand what's happening. You put down a chemical and you come in this program and there's a big hole in here. All we know is filling up the hole. That's all we know. And we want to fill it up with something. And we want to make it look pretty. So what we do is we label it love. We label it love. And it's just like, you know them little babies that got them bottles in their mouth? You snatch that bottle out, you got somebody crying. You know, the baby be crying. You got to pat it and pat it and pat it. That's where we are when we come in here to this program. And we need to explain to these people that their bodies are coming alive, and that, listen here, hey, they're in heat. They ain't in love. Because, listen, understand that, and I'm not putting that down, but I don't allow nobody I sponsor with less than a year I don't let them use that terminology to me. You ever hear Nancy Wilson sing this song, I've been to someplace else, and I've been to Chicago, and I've been to Tennessee, I've been to California or something, but I ain't never been to me. And that's the way we are. We ain't never been to ourselves, and I just don't. I don't let anybody use that kind of terminology. I try to explain what is happening with the individual to them. Because so often, not only when I was new, but today, I need things explained to me about me. Some things that I am not able to see about me that somebody else can see. And see, I accept help. I remember picking up this girl with 30 days, and I had a problem, and I just wanted to run the problem by her, because just for an ear, I knew she couldn't solve the problem. And what she told me is, when I got finished running it, she said, "Doc, you ain't got no problem. All you got to do is mind your own business." You know, 30 days. You know, so I can get help, you know, and I am open to the help. Let us remember that we need to do what we have to do. And each individual has to determine what they have to do for themselves, okay? I know when I was a loser, I did whatever I wanted to do. That's what happens with losers. Losers do what they want to do. And winners do what they have to do. There are certain things that I must do to maintain my recovery. I must show up. I must tell me the truth. I must be open. I must talk to God on a daily basis. There are things that I must do to maintain recovery for me. I must reach out to other people. I got to do this. And in doing it, I end up wanting to do it. I'm the same person that is so self-centered and so selfish, I have never wanted to do nothing for nobody. But God loved me. But tell you a story about love and about the prodigal son. It's another Bible story. Two dudes, two brothers. And the father was rich, and the one brother came to the father and said, "Look, I don't want to wait till you die to get my inheritance. I want it now, while I'm young and I'm ready to party." And so the other brother stayed with the dad, and this wild brother, the father was very hurt, but he gave him his inheritance, and he went on down the road to the city. Well, you know what happened in the city. He met all the slick people and all the fast people and all the partiers. And they partied, and they partied, and they partied. And one day all the money was gone, and guess what? So were the partiers. And he was broke. And there was no place for him to sleep, and so he went to the pig pen. And he laid with the hogs, and he ate with the hogs, and he acted like a hog. And that's where he lived. And one day, after eating a corn husk, he said, "The lowliest servant in my father's house lives better than this. I'm going to eat humble pie, and I'm going down the road to my father's house." And he did. And his father was standing in the door, and he looked and saw his son that was lost. And he hollered, "Kill the fatted calf. My child who was lost has returned to me. Call out the musicians and bring me the best raiment in the crib, because I'm going to lay it on my child who was lost and who has come home." And I identify personally with that story because I laid with the pigs and with the hogs. I partied and spent up everything. My friends deserted me. I have been out there with nothing and nobody, okay? And alone and dirty, down and dirty. I've been there. And one day, I turned and went down the road the other way from whence I came. And my Father, who is God, said, "Kill the fatted calf. My child who was lost has returned to me." And I did. And I ain't going nowhere. Everybody say, "Keep coming back," ain't got to say it to me, because I ain't going nowhere. It's beautiful in here. Okay? Those of you that are confused and wanting to know if it works, what I'm telling you, and you don't see it, ain't nothing under, you don't need to understand. It ain't about understanding. It's about showing up. It's about not picking up, because they had a workshop here called More Will Be Revealed, and it's true. You cannot know. You cannot know before it's time to know. There are some things that if I would have scared me off had I known that God was going to bring me as far as he has brought me, I wouldn't, not me, scrounge that I was. You see what I'm saying? Narcotics Anonymous is the greatest adventure of your life if you just keep coming, keep showing up. And if you got a problem and you can't talk on the phone, let me tell you something. Write it on a match wrapper and give it to somebody that's sitting next to you before you run out the door and have them call you, but tell somebody. Don't hold that stuff in. Don't let ego kill you, because it will. Ego will kill us. Tell somebody what's going on with you. That sometimes things have been, I have been so hurt and so full of pain, and things have been up here and I couldn't talk. You know, I have written letters to somebody in another state, and they have called me on the phone, because I know better than to sit on it. I know what's out there. I don't want to go out there. The problem with me going out there is I wouldn't die. See, people talk about, I ain't got another recovery. Man, listen, it ain't about having another recovery. I wouldn't die out there with my old antique ass. You see, I wouldn't die. I would stay out there. That's why I ain't going out there. You know what I mean? Because I would just worry away. You know, I wouldn't die. This is beautiful here. The people that's got one day, keep coming. Latch on to somebody, get to some meetings, and just tell somebody, I'm scared. Because let me tell you something, don't get into not wanting to be a bother. Because I'm clean from people being a bother. See what I'm saying? People come me saying, call me anytime you want to. That's why I'm standing up here clean today. Don't quit calling me. Keep worrying me. Keep me cussing you out. That's what I need to do, because that helps me. Thank you.